What's going on, everybody? In this video, I'm going to give you the end-to-end playbook for how I hire at my 7-figure agency. This is a system that I developed over the course of about 2 years. We are a writing company, and so we had very, very high throughput, and managing our throughput was costing us 10, 20, maybe even 25% of our total revenue. So building this system essentially enabled us to claw all of that back. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly what that looks like. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, stay tuned. Okay, so first things first, the entire way that the system works is everything begins with Indeed.com. We use Indeed for hiring preferentially over other platforms because we found that Upwork, which most other agencies of our size used to hire, usually ends up costing us 30 to 40%. Indeed is simple, and it also allows us to build our own infrastructure and our own system to manage these applicants, which makes things really simple. So what we'll do, like if I were to show you the actual playbook, is we have a job post set up. We just call it content writer, and we'll set it up in various locations. We'll usually set one up in Canada, we'll set one up in the United States. At times we'll set one up in like Australia or South Africa or anywhere where there's going to be a high concentration of people that are good at English, they know English, they can write English comfortably. And then this is our job application that we will post. We will say, this job is 100% remote. You can work wherever you want, whenever you want. We're extremely flexible. To submit your application, use the form at the bottom of this description. You'll choose your hourly rate. So we actually allow people to choose their hourly rate. You'll add your portfolio, etc. And then we'll contact you via email. Best of luck. So the rest of this is just like a classic job post. You guys can probably get ChatGPT now to whip this up for you in like 30 seconds. But the thing that matters down here is we have a Typeform. So onecondcopy.typeform.com, and then that Typeform includes a source, so we can track where the leads are coming from, or where the hiring, applicants are coming from. And then we can track their location as well, which is important because we use that to determine currencies and kind of do conversions and that sort of deal. So when you click through that, if you are applying for our job, this is the screen you're going to get. Application, content writer, answer all questions truthfully and to the best of your ability. Best of luck and thanks for applying. What happens is you'll click this, you'll type your full name. So let me just put my coffee cup somewhere where I don't spill all over my priceless MacBook. I'm just going to use myself as an example. LinkedIn URL. Anybody wants to connect with me, now's the time. And then a portfolio or website. I mean, since we are a writing company, it's very important for us to see the stuff that people are writing about. Now, ideally, if you're applying for a position, and maybe you're just like a content writer that's watching this and you're curious about how agencies like ourselves actually do the hiring determination. If you are, you should create a website for yourself or a portfolio. So this would be a place where somebody puts that, right? Like maybe it's just your personal website, maybe it's a blog, maybe it's whatever. We have made some allowances for new writers, where if you don't have a portfolio, then you can create a Google Doc, just go into docs.new. And so we just literally give people a button that they can click to create a Google Doc. And then we tell them to write a few paragraphs describing the work history. Now, the reason why I allow people without portfolios to apply is because sometimes that's how I get the best quality talent for the least price. These people are usually new to the industry, they're new to writing in general, but they really want to make it work. And they're more just attracted to like the remote work aspect than anything else. So sometimes you just have people fresh out of university that are just really good writers. I wanted to allow them the capability to do so without necessarily just forcing you to have a website or a portfolio. The catch is, a lot of people that send these Google Drive links are locked because they just don't know how Google Drive works, so I had to put a little snippet here to remind them. Sometimes people want to upload like a Microsoft DocX or, I don't know, just like some PDF file with their portfolio, so I allow them to do it here. But to be frank, I don't really look at these. And then I ask where you're located. Now, I mean, as you see, it's already location Canada-wide, but we just like to have people reconfirm that, so let's pretend I'm in Canada. And this is really the kicker, and this is like the secret sauce that I think makes our application process so scalable. We will ask people for their desired hourly rate, and then we're sort of sneaky about it. We say our current average pay is, and then we give them an anchor. And so if you think about this from the perspective of like our value propositions, we are offering a very flexible, remote, do work on your own time sort of freelance opportunity, which is very attractive to people that like autonomy and freedom. And so what we've decided to do to make that even stronger of a proposition is we allow people to pick their own hourly rates. And then the quality of their work is usually how they justify whatever hourly rate that they want. This also allows us to show our job on Indeed to literally everybody, since we don't have to lock in an hourly rate. And all we do is we anchor them to a desired hourly rate by saying our current average pay is, in this case, $21.50 USD per hour, which is actually really good pay for content writing on an hourly basis. So It defaults your local currency. If you selected United States in the previous page, it'll be in US, yada, yada. The cool part about this is we usually get a lot of people, oh yeah, $2,150 an hour, that's funny. Oh, I just realized that we can't actually do decimals. That's interesting, just found that out now. The really cool thing about this is like 80% of people will pitch us below the desired hourly rate of $21.50, so we actually get the same quality talent for less money than we'd otherwise get if we just posted a normal job app. Got to use your heads, people. What's your typing speed? This is important to us because we just want people that can write quickly, obviously. If you're like pecking at the page and we're paying you per hour, it's just going to cost us more. We also offer a little typing test where people can find out. And then we ask people if they use tools. So have you used ChatGPT, WordTune, Grammarly, all that sort of thing. Then we ask when you can begin the work. So maybe we can start February the 17th, 2024. And then if we click, we also ask how many hours can you work per week. And then, if we click submit here, then it'll actually go through and like forward my application to the system. I'm not going to do that because this is just for demonstrative purposes. But as you can see, the real benefit of setting up your own hiring system and using Indeed is that you can funnel people through a pipeline that you create rather than having to be forced to constantly check Indeed or whatever. And the way that we've set up our own hiring system is we've set it up in ClickUp. So let's say I fill out this application, everything's good. What happens there is we have a bunch of automations that will then collect the request from the writer. Okay, I don't know, it's somewhere around here. But anyway, when you're done filling out the Typeform, what'll happen is we will then push that over to this big pipeline, which is appropriately called the hiring pipeline. And we'll basically just iterate through all those fields and then just add them as columns. And then we have basically a pipeline the same way that we have a work pipeline or like a CRM. It's just like a hiring applicant pipeline. And we found this to be extremely important because this allows just like a virtual assistant or somebody else in our team to quickly thumb through these applications in a format that works for them, and then rate them and then do one or two passes. And I'll show you what that looks like in a second. So we just had a bunch of people fill this out. As you can see, we have 174 applicants. When you are using Indeed with a high throughput system like we are, where you post this to 15 different Indeed job applications in 15 different locations, you usually get anywhere between 20 to 50 applicants a day. So this is pretty high throughput because we're a pretty churn and burn sort of company, right? We want writers that are remote. We want writers that are very flexible, but the downside of that is a lot of them will just show up for a few weeks and then leave. So we need to constantly be churning here. And we do have some writers that have been with us for well over a year and a half now, but they are few and far in between. So what do we see now? We see the rate, we see the minimum hours, we see the source. So we weren't just using Indeed for job applications. We were actually using a couple of other places like Handshake and ZipRecruiter. Again, the benefit to having a Typeform is it just allows you to post that link anywhere you want and then still have the leads funnel into the system. So very flexible. We have a rating. We have some comments here, right? Some people are like, oh, this person sent me a link, or somebody referred me, that sort of thing. We have a role, words per minute, hourly rate, trial article. There's an email field, so I don't want to go too far and leak a bunch of people's emails. Okay, yeah, I think that's it. And then there's a currency column here where we can actually see the currency that they have. So anyway, we will pump that Typeform submission into here. And then what we'll do is we'll have an HR person assigned to this, just go through all of their applications, basically from start to finish. So they'll go through their portfolio, they'll give it a click. I don't know who this person is, but hey, lovely application, Brooke, fantastic work. And then we will give them a rating, maybe 4 out of 5, 5 out of 5, 3 out of 5, whatever. The second that we give them a rating, what happens is they go to the next stage of the pipeline, which is number 1, reviewed. Now these are people where usually we'll have a virtual assistant or something do the first pass, but this is a higher priority stage. And so this is where we will get our content manager to then thumb through all of the applicants that have been reviewed. Basically, they have a minimum level of quality. And this way we allow our hiring manager to save a lot of her time. She doesn't have to spend, she doesn't have to thumb through 174 applications a day. She only needs to thumb through 5 or 6. And so this is a way that we convert a process that otherwise might actually cost a company, like an agency at our size, 30 or 40 bucks a day, and we turn it into one that might cost us $5 a day, because reading through 5 or 6 apps is as simple as clicking the portfolio, being oh yeah, this person is pretty good, and then checking them to the next step of the process. Okay, great. So what happens after this stage? Let's say I really like Claire's work. She's 5-star rated. I've checked her thing, and I'm the hiring manager. What I do at this point is I change her status from number 1 reviewed to number 2 request trial. I'm not going to do that again because these systems are up and running, and I don't want to send Claire a trial request without clearing it with my team first, but what that does is we also then have a second form, which is a trial request form, where we'll actually ask the applicant to write an article for us, and then we'll actually pay them. So a lot of people are afraid to do this, but we will actually pay people to write like a test article. And this is what it looks like. We'll say, thanks for your interest in our content writer position. This is a brief set of instructions to help you write your first paid trial article. We'll ask people to track their time because we pay people per hour, so it's very important for us to do that. Some people will try and skirt this and they'll say that they worked more hours or less, but that doesn't really matter to us because the marginal cost of getting an applicant is so low already. And then what we do is we have them write 500 words. 500 words is ideal for us because it means that we don't really have to pay them too much. Usually it's pretty short, but it's still long enough to demonstrate some level of expertise or acumen. I mean, like the entire point of this is you want to ride that sweet spot between like, okay, I know enough about the applicant to actually make an informed decision, but you also don't want to invest too much in somebody that you're not actually working with that might just like flake and disappear on you. Remember, these people aren't still invested or leveraged in our company at all. They're just random people that we're sending over a request. Then the form will walk them through what the title of the article is, the brief. We want a certain tone of voice, so we'll send them an article from Wired to read through. We'll give them some simple instructions. This is just stuff that they like probably get in the course of working with us when a client sends them over a brief. We'll do formatting and all that stuff. And then what we'll do is we'll ask for the final word count of the Google Doc. We'll ask for their full name, just as sort of like a double up. Their email address, how much time did they take to log, and we have like a specific format because our automation needs to pay them. And then we have like a Google Drive link where we will, again, just give them some simple instructions to teach them how to like, add a share link. The purpose of this isn't that like we actually need all this shit, by the way. The purpose is just, hey, can you follow simple instructions? If anybody fucks up at any point in this process, we just eliminate them and we don't really work with them. Because this is sort of like lowest hanging fruit, right? If you're not detail oriented to like add a Google Drive link, probably not going to be detail oriented enough to write like an article that's going to make it into a magazine. Anyway, what we'll do is when we move that person to stage 2 request article, we'll actually send them an email. And the email will basically request a bunch of information. It'll say, hi, thanks for your application. We've reviewed your portfolio and are interested in moving forward with a trial article, assuming you're still in the market. Here's the info you submitted through our form. We'll just reiterate what their hourly rate was and stuff like that, just for clarity purposes. And then we'll talk about our trials, and then we'll send them the link. So, they'll fill out the trial form, and then, we'll kind of take it from there. So, assuming that they filled out the trial form, what we'll do next is we will automatically pay them. And so we have an automation set up that will just like send somebody a certain amount in Wise. And then, we have somebody that just checks our Wise every day, queues the payment, ensures that it's not something unreasonable, like 500 hours were logged for writing a trial article. And then after that, when they're done, they automatically move to the review trial stage. We'll use an automation that'll check that form submission, obviously, link up the email address to the email address in this ClickUp database. And then assuming that that works, then our hiring manager now has literally like a portfolio with a trial article column somewhere around here that I'm not going to go too far over to the right to get. But we'll basically just have all of that information available in the body of the task. Yeah, there it is. So we'll actually see like a Google Drive link with our automation having filled that out. And then, yeah, at that point, we see their trial article, we can make a hiring or a firing decision. And then what we'll do is we have an onboarding step. So if we move this over to onboarding, then our new team member, because that's basically what they are now, will receive an invitation to our Slack. Our Slack is where our whole team communicates, and so we'll invite them as a guest, and then we'll just send them a couple of templated messages basically being like, hey, how's it going? We loved your trial article, thanks so much. We'd love to have you as part of the team. Why don't you get on board for like a 3-week, what do we call it? It's not like a probationary period, we make it sound a little nicer than that, but like why don't you get on for like a 3-week trial period where we'll pay you like we pay every other writer. We'll just see if this is like a culture fit. It is extremely important when you're working or starting a remote company to ensure that everybody is a culture fit. It's actually not that hard to make sure people are culture fits in remote businesses, simply because if you're in a remote business, you usually like want to meet people and you want to make friends. You don't really have a way to do so otherwise. And so you're usually sort of on your best behavior, you're social, and you chip in on Slack, comms, and that sort of shit. But it is still important to make sure that like, the rest of your team knows who this person is, the rest of your team can communicate with them. The way that we do this is we queue up 3 or 4 messages to be sent basically every 5 or 10 minutes from different people on our team, basically saying, hey, welcome aboard. Thanks so much for joining. It's great to have you here. Like Nick told me so much about you. Like I'd love to see your work, that sort of thing. And so this, in a way, just like front loads the person with like good feelings, excitement, emotion, culture, and it makes them feel like they're a fit in our team before we even like really made that decision. Over the course of the next 3 weeks, we will then just treat them like anybody else in our team. So our manager will then assign them to articles and, add them to pieces in our pipeline. She will then be relatively harsh on editing over the course of the first couple of weeks, just to make sure this person understands comments and understands that, like, you know, this is nothing personal. It's just like how the business operates. You're going to need to like accept revisions and do things like that. And at the end of that 3-week period, we will go through and we'll back calculate the profitability on each article, which we can do automatically, which is quite nice. And then if the profitability is below our target margin, like if it's way below, then we'll just let them go. If it's sort of around the same area, then we'll have a conversation with them and say, hey, listen, we really like your work. Just to be transparent, here's where we're at with the profitability. Here's where we need to be. What can we do to help you achieve that goal? Because we want to keep you around. And then if the person is well above their profitability threshold, then we invite them to the team and we have like all 20 or 25 members be like, hey, thanks so much, like welcome. We're super happy to have you and all that shit. So they receive, you know, these very positive emotions at all steps through the process, which is important. Yeah, it's how we ensure that people are both culture fits, they're also very profitable for us, and that we can do this whole thing just in a very short period of time. Like the average hiring time and hiring cycle in agencies is anywhere from like 2 weeks to like 4 weeks. We get a productive staff member from literally like day 3, approximately. They're actually contributing, they're doing pieces. Even if they're a little bit over our profitability target, that's okay. It doesn't really matter. We're still at least getting work done. So yeah, that is my hiring system from start to finish. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. If you're not at this stage in your agency yet and you've just been sort of watching this out of curiosity, totally cool. If you have any questions about how this process works specifically, let me know. I know that I barely touched on like the make automations and the actual systems in this video. That was because there are like 17 of them and I didn't want to get too deep into it. But I think as long as you understand the logic flow from a bird's eye view, you kind of understand, you know, where I'm coming from and the playbook that 7-figure agencies like mine use to hire, while also maintaining like 50% plus margins. Okay, great. Please like, comment, subscribe, leave your thoughts down below, and I'll catch you in the next video. Thanks so much.